Welcome to the third episode of In Conversation With, a Fulbright Canada podcast. I'm Cheryl, a 2020 to 2021 Killam Fellow, and now a social media assistant here with Fulbright Canada. I had a conversation with Dr. Gabrielle Slowey, a Canadian scholar whose research focuses on the political economy of land claims, treaties, and self-government, especially across the Arctic and in areas where resource extraction takes place. Dr. Slowey is enormously enthusiastic, both in her demeanor and with respect to her field of study. I learned so much about the power of collaboration throughout this conversation. I hope you'll enjoy getting to know her as much as I did.
My name is Dr. Gabrielle Slowey. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Politics at York University, where I teach courses on Indigenous and Arctic politics. And I was the inaugural Fulbright Chair in Arctic Studies at Dartmouth College. I spent 6 months in New Hampshire at Dartmouth. The community at Dartmouth is amazing. Ross Virginia was the lead of the Arctic Fulbright series, the first two initiatives, and he was the host of my chair at Dartmouth. He's a phenomenal researcher, very well known for his work in Antarctica as well as Greenland. And so working with him, getting to know him and some of the other faculty at Dartmouth was really inspiring. I had the pleasure actually of covering a class for a professor there named Dale Turner, who is an Indigenous scholar from Temagami, who wrote a book called This Is Not a Peace Pipe. And he and I became friends during my time at Dartmouth. And I remember, I guess one of the most memorable things was I took over his class for him one day while he was away. And I was teaching on the politics of pipelines and protests. And we were talking about the DAPL and Standing Rock. And a fire alarm went off. And the students were like, no, we want to keep going. So we went out onto the lawn in front of one of those beautiful Dartmouth buildings, and we sat on the lawn and we just kept going and talking about all these issues for another hour or two. And so that was really exciting because I realized I was sitting with the future world leaders in Indigenous studies, some really amazing students, really with lots of vision and passion and so talented. So it was really exciting to have that opportunity to meet the students. And then the other thing I think would stand out was the students in this program, again, the Indigenous Studies program there, organized a 1 or 2 day workshop on women's leadership empowerment. And they had amazing speakers like Winona LaDuke, Ellen Gabriel, and it was really a fantastic forum, and it was really great to hear these women speak. So there was just always something going on at Dartmouth. There was always events and speakers. I just was exposed to so many amazing thinkers. I told everybody when I came back, I said the whole time I was there, I felt like my brain was on fire. It was just, I couldn't help. It was like I was thinking on all cylinders. And my kids went to school while I was there. And I said the same thing about them. Their brains were on fire. We were just so motivated and inspired by the community that we were in. And it was very uplifting, which was really something I enjoyed. It was really like being in an environment of the best, and everyone was just helping to promote and support one another. And it was just a really positive experience, something that we all really enjoyed. When I applied to Dartmouth, I was looking forward to starting a new project that was essentially looking at the different ways, of knowledge mobilization and political economy and a political ecology in a sort of cross-Arctic context. And while I was there, I started actually with the Yukon, because that is, the first territory in Canada. And then you have Northwest Territories and Nunavut and Northern Quebec, Nunavik and Nunatsiavut, which is Northern Labrador. And so I started in the Yukon, and actually this project really took off. It ended up being basically a 3-year project that culminated in a 2-day workshop in Whitehorse. And I ran into one of my friends. His name was Chief Joe Linklater, and he's since passed. And when I ran into him in Whitehorse, he said, Gabrielle, I'm about to give like millions of dollars of governance over to a generation who doesn't understand why we sign treaties. And he goes, we need to fix this. I need your help. So I said, well, let's have a conference. Let's have some sort of meeting where we bring in the original negotiators and we have the youth come and explain why they signed these agreements. And like I said, unfortunately, he passed shortly thereafter, but this project kept going. And we had this workshop where we the territory. And I partnered with the Gordon Foundation here in Canada, which is doing amazing work. They have done national and James Bay and the Métis. So they've got this down to a science and they're doing amazing work. But this was a specific one to the Yukon. And so we finally hosted that event in November of 2019. So that was sort of a project that sort of started germinating when I was at Dartmouth.
The Whitehorse Workshop marks a critical step in the future of the treaty process. The congregation of young attendees, with experts like Dr. Slowey, enables the passing on of knowledge about how First Nations achieved self-government to educate a new generation of leaders, negotiators, and implementers. Did you know? Currently, 11 of Yukon's 14 First Nations have land claims and self-government agreements, accounting for almost half of the total in Canada. Dr. Slowey has written about how the Yukon Agreement's progressive integration of management, resources, and people should serve as a prototype for all modern treaties. In her paper, Indigenous Self-Government in Yukon, Looking for Ways to Pass the Torch, she notes, unfortunately, most of Canada remains quite unaware of the benefit that self-government brings to First Nations communities. It would be shameful if such ignorance is allowed to continue. And so, Dr. Slowey's work never stops.
Now I'm doing another project. I'm currently working in Nunavut and another one in Northern Ontario with the Ring of Fire. So there's lots going on across the north. Unfortunately, COVID did sort of put a halt to all in-person research, given the sensitivity and in communities, especially Indigenous communities across Canada, which are very vulnerable. But luckily, the project ended right before COVID, so we got that accomplished. So now we're just gearing up, I guess, as COVID sort of abates, and we're looking forward to getting the next few projects off the ground.
As her experience with academic research and community engagement demonstrates, Dr. Slowey is distinguished not merely in her academic work, but also with respect to her activism.
So I was lucky enough as an alumni to get one of the community support grants from Fulbright Canada to participate and host in a youth forum in Whitehorse. There was a millennial called Shakat, and so we helped sponsor and support through this community leadership program their event, which was an opportunity for the youth to discuss issues that were important to them, everything from addictions and mental health to governance. The year before, they had put leaders in the territory up on, on a podium on stage, and they'd ask questions. But this time they did something different. This is what was the reverse town hall, where they put the youth on the stadium and the leaders asked the youth questions. So you had the territorial premier there and so forth asking youth about what were issues that were important to them. And I was there as well, presenting on the project that I was hoping to do and working on for that November. So yeah, so that community leadership program helped support and run that event, contributed to that event. They had other support as well, but it was really exciting. And what's really unique about this particular project in the elements of it is that it was really youth oriented and youth focused. And a lot of times I know projects try to engage youth and unfortunately it doesn't always succeed, but this one really had youth involved from the beginning as a result of this town hall event. So yeah, the reverse millennial town hall was a really exciting project and it was really great to be there. So I'm working on a project in Nunavut looking at the role of unions and helping companies fulfill their impact benefit agreement mandates, but also as a way to encourage voice amongst workers in the process. So that's sort of an interesting project. And I'm also collaborating and working with the Anishinaabe Aski Nation, looking at ways to prepare communities for the impending development of the Ring of Fire deposits. So thinking ahead of strategizing about what they want when development comes their way. So those are two projects that I'm currently working on. And again, there hasn't been much travel to the north, but hopefully that'll be opening up in the near future. But in the meantime, I'm just working on preparing and getting these projects organized so that we can get them moving forward. One of the important things about the work I do, and this is the other thing about Fulbright that is beneficial, is it's about the in-person experience, right? It's about going there and experiencing, living in the United States, or for Americans to live in Canada. A lot of things you just can't read about in books or unfortunately in articles. You have to experience them. And I think that's one of the strengths of the Fulbright program, is giving people those experiences. And so hopefully that's why the travel restrictions being reduced is going to be so important, so that people can go and have these experiences. And that was one of the points, from what I understand, of the original Fulbright, was to sort of build this intellectual community of scholars and connect people to one another. So I think that is going to be important going forward more than ever.
Dr. Slowey's work ethic extends beyond her role as a scholar, but also as a mom of 2 boys. If arranging for a move by oneself is not already difficult enough, she managed to arrange a smooth transition for her entire family.
I brought 2 children by myself down to Dartmouth and enrolled them in school. So people might be intimidated or, discouraged, thinking, oh, this is a big endeavor. You have to move, you have to find an apartment. There's a lot of paperwork in terms of immigration and so forth. But it's all worth it in the end. And yes, it might be a little bit of work at the beginning, but once you're there, it's just so worth it, and such an enjoyable experience that I wouldn't think that those obstacles would be insurmountable. I would encourage people to realize that it can be done. I did it. The boys have very positive memories of being at Dartmouth as well. They loved it so much that we came back on July 1st. We went down, I believe, that Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving, just to go back and visit. It definitely, like I said, it was one of the most rewarding experiences of my academic career by far.
Dr. Slowey is a passionate and engaged alum who continues to support the program and grantees. She's a member of the Alumni Advisory Committee and is an active member of the Toronto chapter of the Fulbright Canada Alumni Association. This is a testament not just to her service, but to the rigor with which she educates students and community members alike. When I think about the professors who have altered the trajectory of my academic career, I think of those who are proud of their activism, and those who serve as mentors. I think of their likeness to Dr. Slowey in these regards now. Dr. Slowey has undoubtedly supported a new generation of community leaders, conscientious academics, and political actors committed to the field of Arctic politics and Indigenous politics in Canada. Thank you again for tuning in to this episode of In Conversation With, a Fulbright Canada podcast. Until next time, take care.